All right. So, in other news, Squid Games has been renewed for a season 2 officially. So, Variety is reporting that season 2 has officially been greenlit by Netflix. And Squid Games was the number one most viewed TV series on Netflix in 2021. 1.65 billion hours of the show has been streamed. And Netflix only paid $21.4 million for that show. Now, to give some context to that, they paid $24 million for the last Dave Chappelle special, which was only like 90 minutes long, I think. And also created a huge controversy that Netflix is still kind of like weathering, I guess. But the showrunner for the original season of Squid Games is coming back, as is lead actor Lee Jung-jae, who will return as Song Ji-hun, the main character of that show, who we saw at the end of the previous season, kind of gearing up to go to battle with whoever's behind the Squid Games. So, Chris, did you watch the first season of Squid Games?
I did. I did not watch it when everybody else did. This is terrible. I'm not proud of this, but I do have this contrarian streak in me that when something gets extraordinarily popular, if everyone is telling me to watch it, I just kind of act like a jerk and don't watch it to spite them or spite the world, I guess. I don't know. So I waited a few months before I actually sat down and watched it. The fervor had mostly died down. I did enjoy it. I mean, I can understand why people were so riveted by it. It was really enjoyable. Look, if I'm being honest, I think I'm sort of ambivalent about a second season for it. I'm a big believer in dying a hero or living long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think sometimes we just go to the well too often. Going back to HBO Max, maybe my favorite piece of television of the last 25 years, if not ever, is the first season of True Detective. And what I love about it is it's a self-contained story, and we are never going to see anything more about those characters ever again. What you got was wonderful, and that was it. You enjoy it, you appreciate it, you treasure it, you go back to it, you move on. I've never read any of those sequel Watchmen comics. I didn't watch the Watchmen series on HBO. The original work, to me, self-contained, perfect, leave it alone. I kind of felt like Stranger Things should have ended after one season, and I guess I feel the same way about Squid Game. But when you're talking about that kind of money, I understand there's a 0% chance that there's not going to be a sequel. I'll probably watch it. It will probably be fine. I don't know that it's going to be able to recapture the fervor that the first one generated, but it'll bring subscribers in, no question.
Well, one of the interesting things about Squid Game is that it's very similar to John Wick in the sense that they created this world that these crazy things happen in. And any good science fiction and fantasy show does the same thing, where they do some world building that fans want to revisit. And it's not so much the story that's being told, it's the world that people get to experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why it hits such a cultural nerve. You know, everyone was at home, everyone was bored, they like watched through everything. And then here's this obscure South Korean TV show that is messed up in the best way possible. And everyone's just like, what the heck is this? And after you get past the second episode, like it just is nonstop.
You're totally sucked in. Yep.
Oh yeah. Gut punch after gut punch after gut punch. And it felt like they set up so many questions that audiences are like, I want to find out the answer to that, you know? So like, it was very interesting storytelling. And I also think that a lot of people are so disappointed with what American storytellers are coming out with in terms of like Hollywood.
Yeah, no question.
Like we were talking about Book of Boba Fett at the beginning of the show and how uneven that series is. And then you compare it to something like Squid Games, which every episode like would surprise you in some way, shape, or form. And it was good, and you cared about the characters, and you cared about the stakes, and you cared about the outcome. And it's like, how is this obscure South Korean show killing it on every level of storytelling? And the people in Hollywood whose job it is to do stuff like this can't seem to figure it out.
Well, and I think they had a lot of things going for it that worked to hook the audience beyond everything you already listed. Look, really compelling, emotional performances from the cast, a fascinating aesthetic. Just the look of the show drew you in because it was so different and so cool. I also think, and this again, I think is maybe a little bit of a lightning in a bottle aspect. Probably a huge portion of the audience, and not just here in the States, was looking for some kind of outlet for this sense they have that we're all sort of sinking into this like dystopian existence, and something that allowed us to engage with those feelings that we have that we probably haven't been able to totally port over from our lizard brain to our rational mind. That was attractive to us on some kind of a subcognitive level, I think, which is again like why I understand the idea of the appeal of going back to that world. But again, sometimes I think filling in what's left outside the edges of the lens is not always the best way to go. Book of Boba Fett's a great example, right? Like if you would have gone to me and said like, hey, in the 1980s, like, wouldn't you love to hear more of the story of Boba Fett told? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I like 1,000 different versions of it because there are 1,000 different imaginative flights of fancy in the brains of Star Wars fans about what Boba Fett is. And the minute you collapse it down to he's a clone of Jango Fett,
Yeah.
then that's all you get, right?
The minute you take the helmet off.
Yeah. So I mean, again, the more you strip that world of its mystique, maybe the less alluring it becomes. But I'm not trying to be a party pooper here or anything. I'm ambivalent. I'm not negative. I'm not jumping out of my seat in eager anticipation of another season.
Well, I do feel like the guy behind Squid Games has a plan for future seasons, which is a big thing because most of Hollywood just kind of goes forward without a plan. They're like, oh, it's a hit, let's make more of it.
Yeah.
And with Netflix kind of has this weird uncanny ability to time stuff. Like I remember when Making a Murderer, the first season came out over Christmas time, like years ago, and my entire family were just riveted to that show. And then Tiger King came out at the start of the pandemic, and everyone watched Tiger King because everyone was like, well, we're locked in our houses. What's on here? Oh, this crazy, like bizarre, like tiger show. Like, let's check it out.
Now that is one show I watched when everybody told me to watch it. I watched Tiger King with the rest of America.
Yeah. Did you watch the second season?
I did.
What'd you think?
It was fine. It was fun.
Not enough Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic carried the first season, man.
Yeah, it's probably tough. It's probably tough to have a lot of Joe Exotic when he's in prison, right? Yeah. But it was fine.
Yeah, but having like a foreign language TV show become such a cultural phenomenon here in the States, like that's very rare.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. I think Netflix even said that it generated something like over $1 billion in impact value for the streamer. And Netflix has a weird way of kind of judging TV shows and movies that they release because they don't sell anything. It's like
right.
They're not putting out DVDs and box sets and stuff.
It's like South Park. This made us $3 billion theoretical dollars.
Yeah, actually, if we have time at the end of this, I'm kind of gonna try to break down how Netflix kind of determines what's valuable and what isn't.